Hello and welcome to Today at United. My name is Hader and I'm your host today. I hope you're having a lovely morning. It's Tuesday today. It's sunny outside, so that can only be good news for everyone. I'm joined by two fantastic guests today who are going to talk to me about the biggest news stories over the last 24 hours. I must admit, it is quite of the same news, to be honest, Jadon Sancho, but we're not going to talk about him today because that is incredibly boring for myself and my two guests. So without further ado, I'm joined today by Mark. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. I don't think I've quite woken up. I'm not quite in the swing of things yet, so you have to bear with me, but I'm okay, thanks, dude.
No problem. And I'm delighted to be joined by Neil. It's the first time I'm working with you today, Neil. How are you doing today, mate?
Very well, thank you very much.
No problem at all. Let's just jump straight into it. And let's start with some transfer news. And there are reports over the last 24 hours that Sergio Reguilon is close to joining Manchester United. So I'm going to go to you first, Mark. Are you happy with this signing? And do you think left back is a position that we need to strengthen? Or should we possibly been looking for a centre back or other areas?
I gathering a bit of pace, isn't it, this one, which I'm quite pleased with. Actually, there's been several conversations over the last few weeks, and this is another topic which has kind of gone through the mill a few times. But I am happy with him in particular. I know that obviously we were also linked with Alex Telles as well, and I kind of made my point clear on another show that I feel that Sergio would be the better signing. With regards to other areas, I still obviously think that we need a right winger, obviously a big one. I still believe, and I know people have disagreed with me, but a centre back isn't necessarily one of the priorities. I think we've gone from letting in 50 odd, 60 odd goals or whatever it was the season before to 30 odd. Or whatever it was this season, which was a huge improvement. And whilst I know that if Harry Maguire gets injured, I feel that we do have enough people within the team to kind of take part and do their work. So I think left back is needed for me. I think Luke Shaw, said this many times, he should have cemented his place, and he needs some competition. And I actually think Sergio will probably come in and take that spot straight away, depending on how fit Luke Shaw is. So I think it will be a good signing. I really hope that goes through in the next couple of days.
Absolutely. And just to all the listeners, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. We've got some fantastic content, some fantastic contributors, and also just some brilliant shows every week. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Neil, are you in agreement with what Mark is saying regarding the left back position? Or are you, again, one of those that would have liked to seen other areas strengthened? And I'm going to do a sort of two-parter for you. If no more signings were to come in, so we just had Van der Beek and Sergio Reguilon, would this be an acceptable summer for a club like United looking to challenge for the top honours? And they should be challenging for the top honours.
I'll answer the second one first. No way we should be signing more players. We need more players. The squad is too weak. I'm very pleased with the Van der Beek signing. Another left back. After listening to Mark's point of view, I've got to say I agree with Mark. My initial thoughts were, do we need another left back? But I wonder what he's going to do with Williams, and whether Williams becomes cover for Wan-Bissaka at right back, or because three left backs is quite top heavy. But Mark's argument is a great argument, and I do agree with it. He'd be a great signing for us. But we need more players. The squad's too weak. It's not got the strength. It's not got the classic strength that you need to win the title.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, what is your thoughts on Brandon Williams? Because what I love about Brandon Williams is that I think he's someone with fantastic attitude, and you need homegrown talent in the squad because they understand the club. I'm not saying if you're not a homegrown talent, you don't understand it. We've seen with the likes of Patrice Evra, who really embraced everything about Manchester United and the heritage and the culture and the values. But are you one of those that thinks maybe Williams should go out on loan, or do you think it's probably better to see him moving to right back, because that's where I think he should play. I do like my right-footed right backs and my left-footed left backs.
Yeah, I think he probably ended up being covered for Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, they're trying to move. It looks like they're trying to move Darlow on, so they do. We would need cover, and Williams can play. He can play there, so I'd put him in there. I agreed about the centre half situation as well. We're pretty solid at the back. I might have changed my view. I mean, a couple of months ago, I was like desperate to get a centre half in, but you know, the defence was very good last year. We need, like, you know, there's someone we're not going to talk about, but we need that position filled as well. That's the key position for us to fill for us to move forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. That would probably been my area. And we see here, Morning Chigs, and Chigs has said Sergio Reguilon is ahead of his 28 million move to Man United. He should be due at Carrington. So I hope you're right, mate. All the signs seem to be that he has agreed the move to United, or we're close to that anyway. And he'll be a fantastic bit of business. But let's move on. And I'm going to ask you, Mark, about Chris Smalling. So luckily we're not talking about Jadon Sancho today, which is nice because I've talked about
nice change of topic.
Yeah, that's all we talk about these days. But look, reports have emerged, especially yesterday and today, that Smalling's move to Roma is off, and that's broken down as they've signed another centre-back, and supposedly United aren't happy with the price that was or the offer that was put down for him. But look, this is going to divide opinion, but what is your opinion on him, and would you like to see him come back to United and challenge for that centre-back spot, considering we possibly won't sign one?
I don't see why not. I think it's obviously been very clear that Ole wants a left-footed, quick centre-back. Now, we know that there's a good player in Chris Smalling. He probably is quicker than Harry Maguire, but I don't think he's quite quick enough. I don't think he's really a ball-playing centre-back. So it's a tough one for me. I've already said on many occasions that we need to clear out some of the players that aren't getting game time. He had a fantastic season at Roma. But, you know, there's still the ability, and perhaps, you know, he could break in and actually surprise us all, and perhaps he could be a good partner. I still don't think he would be the right partner, but, you know, you don't know until you see sort of what happens. I think from the most frustrating point of view is that United need to get rid of several players, and they don't seem to be able to do it. There's no urgency. It doesn't ever seem to be smooth enough, you know, and we need to. I think it's been made very clear that United need to make some money coming in order to try and, you know, bring in other players as well. So it's been, I say, I know we get frustrated every year, but I think for me, I think I've been a lot more involved this year, so perhaps that's what it is. But it has been an incredibly frustrating summer, and it doesn't seem, you know, as soon as we feel that, you know, Chris is going to be going, and maybe Sancho, dare I say it, coming in, it seems to sort of, you know, turn on its head the next day, and we're always left disappointed. It's tough, been tough.
Absolutely. And just to all the listeners, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. There's not a better United channel out there for brilliant fan content. And that United family, good morning, and I hope everyone's doing well today. Just to add Stephen Reed's comment as well, he's saying, not Smalling for me, he's finished. Look, I don't think Smalling is finished as such. Yeah. I think with Chris Smalling is that United have to understand that he's been at United for almost a decade. He hasn't necessarily, you know, shone. I don't think he set the world alight. He had a fantastic season under Louis van Gaal. He's a good defender, but he doesn't suit the way United want to play. United, especially Ole, wants his centre-backs to be able to play out the back, and that's probably Smalling's biggest weakness, I would say. I mean, I'm going to come to you now, Neil. Do you agree with that? I mean, a lot of people say Smalling went to Italy, became probably the best centre-back form-wise last season. Maybe he should be given a second chance.
No, I think his time's come and gone, to be honest. Excuse me. He never really convinced me that the time he'd been at United. Like you say, he's been there a decade. I was never overly convinced with him. He did have a good season under Van Gaal, but that was because of his name change, I think, more than anything else. So I think he doesn't suit Ole's system. I can see him going to somewhere like Newcastle or maybe even back to Fulham or something like that, and they might get some decent money for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's probably the first one they can move on, because he's a decent player, but his time's come and gone at United, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm going to keep you there, Neil, for a second, because I want to ask you again. Does it frustrate you that United have so many fringe players that they can't shift off the books? Because when you look at the players that we've got, you look at the likes of Phil Jones on huge wages. You look at Jesse Lingard again, huge wages. Andres Pereira, why he was given a new contract, I don't understand. And when these players are, looking to be moved on, other teams cannot afford that salary, and then also United aren't getting enough money coming in, and then that vicious cycle of buying players for big fees but not getting enough coming in.
In my opinion, the problem's been with trying to move these players on is they're on such massive money. No one's going to take them on. I mean, is it rumoured Lingard's on 150 grand, which is just unbelievable, and he's no more than a squad player at all, and he's not United class. I think the problem is just because they're paying him such big wages, the players are just happy to sit there and see out the contracts. They're showing no ambition in themselves, and they're just taking the money in. I mean, Jones has been there nearly 10 years now, and he's nowhere near the first team for about 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And we've got a comment here from Jay Finesse. Morning, Jay. Have United thrown in the towel with Badiashile from AS Monaco? Look, from what I've been reading, United are obviously very interested in a centre-back. We've seen Upamecano been linked. We've seen Pau Torres. I just don't think United have the budget, to buy a centre-back if they want to buy a Sancho, if they want to go and buy, a Van der Beek and a Reguilon. But I do think that, as Neil said, we've got so many players on the books. Look at how many centre-backs we've got. Apart from the likes of Bailly, Maguire, Lindelof, Tuanzebe, you've got Mengi as well, which we're going to talk about next. But then you've still got Jones, Rojo, Smalling. That's almost 7-8 centre backs. So unfortunately, as Neil said, United give such big wages to fringe players that they just can't move them on. So I'm going to move to Mark now, and one player that I do want to talk about is young Mengi, because, and let's finish on a positive note, I think that he looks like a real talent. We should never ever get too excited, because we've seen many young players, the likes of Januzaj, who've looked quality, but when it really does come to it, they don't really have the mentality, or it doesn't work out for them. But Mengi's obviously highly rated by Ole. He's sung his praises highly, particularly after the Aston Villa game. Would you be happy to see him given a chance to cement his place in the first team next to Maguire, considering Lindelof's a little bit shaky, Tuanzebe, who I'm a fan of, is injury prone, Bailly's made of glass? Would you be happy to see that, or is it a bit too early for him?
I'm not entirely sure, really. I think obviously if he is spoken of quite highly, I did see the comments by Ole the other day, and I think he's another sort of big thing that's come through the academy, a bit like Greenwood. Obviously, not necessarily the totally different positions, so you can't compare them, but maybe not with the praise of Greenwood. But I think it would be a good opportunity. Why not? If he's going to be young and hungry, by the sounds of things, he's built. He's pretty quick, very strong. The 2 games that he's had, against Villa, and I think he made an appearance against Last, was it? And by all accounts, he made a good account of himself then. Then why not? It could be a great opportunity for someone that young to really come in and sort of prove a point. And he will know what's been going on. He will know what Ole has said, or perhaps what Ole wants. And, it might be an opportunity for him to come in and prove that. Why not? Absolutely. I think that, with him being young, he could possibly be prone to mistakes. He's obviously done very well in the under-23s and such, and therefore it's going to be a massive step up. So perhaps he could come in and make mistakes. The problem we have, as we've seen with Greenwood in the last few weeks, is if he does make a mistake, he could have everyone on his back very quickly, especially the media, which is never very nice or fair. And that could sort of have a massive detriment to him. So they have to play it carefully. I think something that United have always done is, when there have been academy graduates, we bring them through and they seem to sort of nurture them quite well. So I think Ole, we've seen it with Ole. I think one thing that I have to say about him is he has nurtured and brought the best out of a lot of the players, Greenwood, Martial, two of them. So I think that, he will know what he was doing and he will hopefully know what to do and when to bring him in. But I think it could be a great opportunity, and why not? Why not?
Absolutely. And I'm going to add a question by Nabil, and I'll pass it on to you, Neil. Realistically, what do you expect from Man United in the remaining time left in the transfer window? That's $1 million question, Neil. $1 million question.
Yeah, the problem is it's Woodward who's in charge of the transfers, isn't it? I've got this crazy feeling they might sign this lad from Germany who's playing in the Bundesliga. I just... because it's gone on so long, that's the one. I think that's the position.
Yeah.
As regards what needs to be done is get rid of some of the chaff out of the squad. There's some just get rid of him in some respects. Pay him off, just get him off the wages. Do what needs to be done and thin the squad out. There's 9-10 players that could go and you wouldn't lose any sleep at all from that massive squad that we've got. But lacking of quality, so I'd get them out. They've got to go. As Stephen Reed has just said, deadwood. They've got to go.
Yeah,
that's what I hope. 1 or 2 in, including the left back, and then get rid of the deadwood.
Can I just another point?
Yeah, go on, Mark. I was just going to add quickly and that's a great point, Stephen. Look, when you look at, I don't like to compare us to other sides, but you have to do that to obviously get a full picture on how we want to see United be run. And I think the frustration with all the fans, I'm just as frustrated as anyone is. But what we're frustrated with is that as fans, every summer we take so long to complete our transfer business. We also take so long to get players out. You look at the likes. I remember a few years ago when we had a back four. It was only about 2 or 3 years ago under Jose, a back four of De Gea, Valencia, Smalling, Jones, and Young. That back 4 or 5 played under Sir Alex, and that was nearly 5 to at the time it was 5 years ago. And that's the problem, that United have held on to players for far too long. And by the time we try and sell them, they're on a big contract, as Neil said, and we just can't shift them. So, Mark, I'm going to pass on to you now. Tell the listeners your thoughts.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with those points. I wanted to make some points on that earlier. I think something that Neil said that I think we need to be very careful of is, yes, we do need to get rid of the deadwood, but what we don't want to fall into is getting rid of too many players. We've already got a very thin squad, and everyone's been banging on all summer about how much we need to invest to make sure that we've got a decent second team. Now, whilst these players aren't probably good enough, I feel that if you've got the sort of main players in like Bruno, like Pogba and the front three, then perhaps if someone needs a rest like Mason, I think we spoke about this the other day, that if Mason needs a rest for a game, then it would be okay to bring someone in like Lingard. I'm not a huge fan of him. I know he's had a very difficult year. But he can come on, and we saw he scored a goal against Leicester, and I guess that it may be with him having a chat with Ole to say that he might be staying for another year, which is something I read the other day. Then someone like him could come on. We've still got 10 other players that are a very good first team players, and maybe 1 or 2 players here and there just to save tired legs. We need to be very careful. What I'm saying is that whilst we need to get rid of deadwood, at the moment we're not in a position where we've replaced these players either, and I'm not entirely sure that we would get the players in to replace them afterwards. We have to be very, very careful of who we get rid of and get rid of too many.
Absolutely. And morning, Patrick, and he says, I'm happy enough with what we have. Obviously would have preferred more, but we had one of the best defenses last season. Statistically we did, but I think you've got to take statistics in isolation to what you actually see on the pitch. And I think everyone will admit that we still look shaky at the back, that partnership's not working. And you can say, I agree with you, Patrick, would have liked to have signed Bellingham, but I think we're in a good place. I would agree with that. Neil, I want to pass on to you for the final word. And a lot of people are putting out predictions that United are going to finish 6th. I think that's ludicrous. United have, with what they've currently got, I think they're good enough to finish in the top 4. I think people are putting too much stock into Arsenal. Arsenal bought 1 player in Gabriel, I believe, and I don't think they're any better than what we are. Chelsea have bought a lot, but it will take time for them to gel. United are actually in the best position, aren't they? Probably in 7 years going into a season.
Yeah. I think United. I'm quite, I'm normally glass half empty sometimes. Recently with United, but I think going into this season, that's a top four squad. I'm not saying that they'll challenge for the top two, but you never know. They need to start the season well. I've said this before. I think the first 10 games are massively important for Ole, because if it doesn't go right, the pressure's just going to get absolutely enormous on him. There's still some class managers out there looking for work. I think that the key is a really fast start and just be in a good position, and then kick on. I'd like us to obviously do well in the Champions League would be good, to get out of the groups and try and get to at least the quarters. Going back to what we spoke to before, we talk about positions to fill. I think one of the positions that needs to be filled at the club is a director of football. I think that'll make a massive difference to this club moving forward.
Absolutely. That is my biggest problem. You see here, Stephen said the problem is the Glazers. They aren't backing Ole. They've never backed Van Gaal and Mourinho in the transfer market neither, and are stealing from the club for themselves. Look, okay, I completely agree the Glazers are the problem, and I think everyone saw the facts and figures that came out yesterday where they've put not one single penny of their own money into the club, whereas in that same time, Chelsea's owners have put in about 400 to 450 million. I'm not saying the Glazers are not the problem. They are 100% the problem. I don't want to go too much into it, but United's problem is they spent 1.2 billion in the last 7 years. They spent it badly. So I wouldn't say they haven't spent, but Neil is completely right. When you've got someone in charge like Ed Woodward, who has the footballing acumen of a peanut, then what do you expect? The money is going to be spent badly. So United need to have footballing men in footballing positions. I'm going to pass on to you for the final word. I said that before, but to Mark. Mark, who would you like to see partnering Maguire? I know we mentioned Mengi. For me, I would like Tuanzebe, because I think if he can keep fit, he has all the attributes to play next to Maguire. He's got the recovery pace. He's aggressive. He's strong. He's a good passer. Remember, if you watched him during the years in the academy, he played. He was captain, wasn't he? He played obviously in centre back. He was captain all the way up, so he's obviously got leadership qualities. Would you be happy to see him there? Or would you be leaning towards more of a safe option with Lindelof?
Firstly, I just want to say I think that's a little bit unfair on the peanut, to be honest. But there you go. I mean, if we don't, we're definitely not going to get a centre back in. I mean, we're taking a massive risk by not going for Upamecano. I will stick to that throughout. If we do not get him, then we have missed out on a huge opportunity, and I will say that until he goes to someone else. So for me, I agree with you. I can't really add much more to that, really. I think Tuanzebe, I do like him. He is very quick. Unfortunately, he's had a few injury problems. So if we can, we have had some problems with injuries, haven't we? I think there does need to be sort of like we need to reevaluate that a little bit. We seem to get injuries at the wrong time, and we don't seem to be keeping people fit necessarily. We've had that a number of times over the years. We had it with Fergie as well. So for me, Tuanzebe would be a great option if we can get him fit, and if he can stay fit and doesn't get injuries, then why not? We aren't going to get another centre back in, so we're going to have to make do with what we got. Hopefully Maguire will be able to stay fit all season, otherwise we're going to have massive problems. I still don't think Lindelof personally is a bad player. I don't think he's great, and I know that he does make some errors, but as I've said already, we didn't have a bad defence last year, and if we can do enough and continue in the vein that we were, and with the front six really going for it and scoring goals, then I don't necessarily see us having a huge problem. Perhaps in the Champions League might be a bit more difficult, but yeah, why not?
Neil, last comment. Do you agree with this? I mean, I don't think United review is wrong. 2 injuries away from capitulation. If one of the front three gets injured, or Bruno and Pogba, we could be in trouble, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could be, but if buts and maybes, I do agree with what Mark said, particularly about Lindelof. I don't think he's as bad as some people. I quite like him. I think he's a decent signing. I think he understands playing for the club, what it means, which is a big thing for me. I've banged on about that in the past, understanding what it means to play for United. I actually like Bailly, but he's just, like you said, made of glass, and possibly, can be a bit overzealous in his challenges. Let's put it that way. So defensive wise, I think we're great. I mean, moving forward, I think we're well stocked in midfield, but you know, you get an injury to Pogba or Bruno, I think we're in a world of trouble there. I think that those are the two key players, along with Maguire. The spine of the team needs to stay as the spine of the team for the whole season. We could afford players in and out in different positions, but not down that spine.
Yeah, I agree. And guys, look, we've run out of time. Fantastic show today. Some brilliant views. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Neil, for joining me today.
Welcome.
And to all the listeners, thank you so much for getting involved. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And we'll be doing this every single morning. It'll be today at United, so you're up to date with all the United news for the last 24 hours. So make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next time.